Some truck brands have so much unsold inventory right now that dealers would need over 4 months to sell through what's already on the lot. Trucks are flooding back to dealerships. Here's why. We're breaking down what's driving it, which brands are drowning in it, and why it's not as simple as nobody wants trucks anymore. Stick around. The last piece is the one nobody in the industry wants to say out loud. To put a number on the scale of this, total US new vehicle inventory sat around 2.9 million units this spring, according to Cox Automotive Tracking, up double digits year over year. Industry-wide days supply, the number of days it would take to sell everything currently on lots if factories stopped building tomorrow, bounced from around 79 days in March, up near 97 in an earlier read, and back down again as sales pace shifted month to month. That kind of swing tells you this isn't a slow, steady drift. It's a market that overcorrected, is trying to find its footing, and hasn't fully figured out where normal actually is anymore. Trucks are simply where that struggle shows up loudest, because trucks are where the biggest dollars, the biggest loans, and the biggest brand rivalries all collide at once. Number 7, Toyota is playing a completely different game. Start with the outlier, because it proves this isn't an industry-wide truck slump. While most brands are drowning in inventory, Toyota and Lexus have been running some of the tightest supply in the entire market, as low as the high 20s to mid-30s in days supply through parts of this year, according to Cox Automotive's brand-level tracking. For context, a healthy, balanced supply is usually considered somewhere around 60 days, enough that a shopper can find their color and trim without the dealer sitting on cash it can't use. Toyota isn't tight because Tacomas and Tundras aren't selling. It's tight because Toyota builds to a number and refuses to flood its own network, even when demand is there. Dealers selling Tacomas and Tundras will tell you flat out, they'd sell more if they could get more. Shopper listings back that up. Walk through current Tacoma and Tundra inventory, and you'll see the same phrase attached to trim after trim: high demand. That's not marketing copy. That's what happens when supply genuinely can't keep pace with who wants to buy. Here's the what changed part. Toyota's discipline isn't new. The brand has run tight for years, going back to well before the pandemic supply crunch. What's different in 2026 is what that discipline is now worth. When every other brand on this list is bleeding margin into discounts just to move metal, Toyota dealers are still holding pricing power, because there simply isn't enough Tacoma and Tundra inventory sitting around to force a fire sale. That's the opposite problem of what we're about to walk through, and it's worth holding on to, because it's your baseline. Everything else on this list is what happens when a brand does the opposite of what Toyota is doing. Number 6, the aluminum fire that cracked the truck wars wide open. Late in 2025, a supplier fire at a Novelis aluminum plant in upstate New York, the single plant responsible for a huge share of the auto industry's aluminum sheet, shut down production not once but twice in a 3-month stretch. That plant fed body panels for Ford's F-150, the best-selling vehicle in America for basically 50 straight years. Here's the timeline. The first fire hit hard enough to shut the plant down for months. A second fire broke out at the same facility roughly 2 months later, right as Ford was trying to get production back on track. 2 fires, 1 plant, 1 supplier responsible for a huge chunk of the entire industry's sheet aluminum. And Ford had to lean on other global plants just to keep the F-150 line moving at all. The result? Fewer F-150s built, tighter selection on dealer lots, and higher transaction prices on the trucks that did make it out. Even with reported inventory north of 60,000 F-150 units sitting at dealers nationally, industry coverage described that number as misleadingly large, because when you break it down by trim, cab configuration, and region, a lot of buyers were still finding thinner selection and fewer incentives than they expected on America's best-selling vehicle. Ford has said F-150 inventory is healthy and recovering, but recovering is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Because while Ford was scrambling for aluminum, its 2 biggest competitors saw the door crack open and didn't hesitate. General Motors moved fast. Automotive News reported GM explicitly planned to build up Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra inventory specifically to chip away at Ford's market share, while the F-150 was hobbled. And industry analysts flagged that Ram stood to benefit from the same opening. One S&P Global Mobility analyst told Automotive News there's real potential for market share to shift between Ram and Chevrolet as a result. One supplier fire. Three truck brands making completely different calculations about how to respond. That's not a coincidence. That's the truck wars playing out in real time on your local dealer's lot. Number 5. GM poured trucks into a market that wasn't ready for them. Chevrolet took the opening and ran with it. Maybe too hard. Dealer-level data tracked by GM Authority showed Chevy's average days supply jumping to 85 days in February of this year, up sharply from 60 days just 1 month earlier. That's not a gradual drift. That's a brand hitting the gas on production at almost exactly the moment F-150 buyers started cross-shopping. Here's the plain language version. 60 days of supply is close to the sweet spot dealers actually want. 85 days means a dealership is sitting on almost 3 months of trucks it hasn't sold, and every one of those trucks is racking up floor plan interest whether it moves or not. Within Chevy's own lineup, the split matters too. GM Authority's model-level tracking showed electric models like the Blazer EV piling up hardest, while core gas-powered haulers like the Tahoe stayed tight. So even inside a single oversupplied brand, the problem isn't evenly spread. It's concentrated in the vehicles people are more hesitant to commit to. Owner forums tell the same story from the other direction. Shoppers who spent 2023 and 2024 complaining about markups and empty lots are now the same people posting screenshots of discount stickers north of $7,000 off Silverado Trail Boss trims, half joking that they waited too long to buy. There's also a strategic angle worth flagging. GM's own operations team has publicly pointed to factory downtime tied to next-generation heavy-duty truck production, plus an unusually strong close to last year, as part of why inventory looks the way it does right now. Translation: some of this is deliberate positioning ahead of new products, not just a sales miss. But deliberate or not, the day's supply number is what a dealer's floor plan lender actually looks at, and 85 days is 85 days, regardless of the strategy behind it. Number 4. Stellantis has a bigger problem than anyone else on this list. Here's where it gets serious. By this spring, Cox Automotive data showed Dodge sitting at roughly 142 days supply, Chrysler and Ram both around 135, and Jeep at around 128. On specialty and chassis cab configurations, some individual models have been tracked well past 200 days, meaning a dealer could stop taking any more of that particular truck today and still be selling through last spring's inventory around Thanksgiving. Stellantis has publicly framed some of this as stocking up ahead of planned summer production shutdowns. But the company's own dealer network is telling a different story through its actions. Stacked incentives, freedom of choice employee pricing programs opened up to the general public, $1,000 under-invoice pricing on Ram trucks, and 0% financing on mainstream Ram 1500 trims. You don't run promotions that aggressive on a truck that's moving just fine. And the deepest cuts aren't spread evenly either. Coverage tracking Stellantis dealer offers has shown the biggest combined incentives concentrated on the priciest trims. Think Ram 1500 Limited, Grand Cherokee Summit, Durango's top-end packages, because that's exactly where the brand is carrying the most unsold inventory. If you're shopping something in the $30,000 to $40,000 range instead, don't expect the same size of cash discount. That segment tends to get financing incentives like 0% APR instead of straight cash off, because it isn't piled up the same way the loaded trims are. Shipment data adds another wrinkle worth knowing about. Stellantis has publicly touted shipment growth of nearly 40% in a recent quarter, and shipments are not the same thing as sales. A truck that left the factory isn't a truck that found an owner. It's a truck that moved from one lot to a different one. And somebody still has to sell it. Part of this traces back further than this year. Ram sales dropped sharply through a stretch of last year, down roughly a quarter over a 9-month span, by the company's own reporting, while Stellantis kept shipping product into a network that couldn't sell through what it already had. New leadership at the brand has talked publicly about getting the customer back at the center of the business, which is corporate speak for admitting the previous approach. Build first, figure out demand later. Didn't work. They're even bringing back the old Hemi V8 as an option for 2026 after cutting it the year before, betting that truck buyers who skip the newer 6-cylinder engine will come back for the classic. Whether that fixes the inventory pile or just adds another variable to it is genuinely an open question. If you're the kind of buyer who's been waiting for leverage, this is it. But if you're a dealer financing that inventory on a floor plan line, every week of delay is a real bill, not an abstraction. We'll come back to exactly how expensive that bill has gotten. Quick gut check before we keep going. Drop a comment with which brand's lot you've actually seen this on. Are you seeing Ram and Jeep piled up near you, or is it something else? We're curious how local this really is. Number 3, the floor plan bill. Nobody outside the industry ever sees. This is the part almost nobody explains, and it's the reason "just wait for a discount" isn't free advice for the dealer on the other side of that discount. Every vehicle sitting on a lot is financed through something called a floor plan loan, essentially a running line of credit the dealer pays interest on for every single day that truck hasn't sold. Industry trackers now put floor plan interest rates in the 6.5% to 8.5% range annually. Once you stack in insurance, depreciation, and lost opportunity cost, dealers are reporting all-in holding costs of roughly $30 to $48 per unit per day, climbing toward $40 to $75 a day once a truck crosses the 60-day mark. Translate that into a full-size truck sitting at 135 days instead of a healthy 60. That's roughly 75 extra days of carrying cost, which can run into the thousands of dollars per truck before it ever sells. Money that comes straight out of the dealer's margin, not the manufacturer's. Sources tracking dealership economics also note that gross profit on a new vehicle doesn't erode slowly. It tends to hold, then collapse hard, once a unit crosses somewhere around the 30 to 45-day mark, which is exactly why steep price cuts tend to show up almost overnight rather than gradually. There's a second trap layered on top of the daily interest, called a curtailment provision. Most floor plan agreements require a dealer to start paying down the principal on a specific truck once it crosses a certain age threshold, whether or not it's sold. That means an aging truck doesn't just cost more in interest. At some point, it starts demanding actual cash out of the dealership's operating account, cash that would otherwise go toward buying fresher inventory that's easier to sell. Dealers describe this as a cascade. Pay the curtailment out of working capital, discount something else to free up cash, or risk the lender tightening the whole credit line. None of those options are good, and all of them get more likely the longer a lot stays this full. This is also why the manufacturer built too many trucks and your local dealer is desperate to deal are actually the same sentence. The factory already got paid when that truck shipped. The dealer is the one holding the bag until it sells. And that bag gets heavier every single day. Number 2, buyers hit a wall. The same month's supply came back. Here's the collision nobody planned for. Just as production ramped back up toward, and in some brands well past, normal levels, buyer affordability hit a wall of its own. Experian's first quarter data put the average new vehicle monthly payment at a record $770. Other trackers using slightly different methodology have shown average finance payments pushing past $800, with close to 1 in 5 buyers now paying over $1,000 a month for a vehicle. The average new auto loan sits close to $44,000, and loan terms have been stretching out towards 70 and even 84 months just to keep payments from becoming genuinely unaffordable. Full-size trucks make this worse than almost any other segment. Sticker prices on gas-powered full-size pickups typically start in the low $40,000 range. But Kelley Blue Book's own transaction data shows the average full-size truck buyer is actually paying north of $66,000 once trims, packages, and options are factored in. That's not a starter truck anymore. That's a payment most households have to stretch years of financing to absorb, and Edmunds data shows the average buyer is now putting close to $6,000 down just to keep that payment somewhat manageable. It's no surprise then that a lot of would-be new truck buyers are quietly opting out of the new lot entirely. Used truck and car prices actually fell about 2% year over year, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, even as new vehicle prices kept climbing. A used truck payment, averaging around $530 a month, looks a lot more livable than a new truck payment pushing $800. And every buyer who makes that switch is one fewer buyer clearing a new truck off a crowded lot. Fuel costs aren't helping either. Monthly fuel spend for the average driver had been trending down for a couple of years, but recent geopolitical instability pushed it back up by roughly $50 a month, right when buyers were already stretched thin on the loan itself. None of these numbers are individually shocking on their own. Stacked together, record payments, record loan amounts, longer terms, and rising fuel costs, on top of a vehicle segment that already carries some of the highest transaction prices in the industry, you get a buyer pool that's simply moving slower than the factories building for them expected. Put those two numbers side by side. Factories building at a pace that assumes buyers can absorb 60 days of supply moving briskly, against a buyer pool where the median payment just hit an all-time high. Something has to give, and right now, it's dealer lots. Which brings us to the actual root of all of this. If you've made it this far, drop a comment telling us if your own truck payment has crept past what you originally budgeted for. You are absolutely not alone. Number 1. The industry bet on the wrong kind of normal. Every single thing on this list traces back to one decision automakers made, mostly without saying it out loud. After years of shortage-era supply sitting around 40 to 50 days, the industry decided normal meant going back to pre-pandemic production levels, somewhere around 75 to 76 days of supply, and building toward that number as fast as possible. That would have been a reasonable bet if 2026 buyers looked like 2019 buyers. They don't. Auto loan debt nationally has climbed to over $1.6 trillion, up more than 50% from a decade ago, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Interest rates on auto loans are sitting close to 9.5% on average, nowhere near the near-zero financing that made stretching for a bigger truck painless in the years right before the pandemic. Insurance costs are up. Fuel costs, after briefly easing, ticked back up this year on top of everything else. The industry rebuilt its supply chain for a customer whose wallet quietly stopped cooperating. So what you're actually watching, brand by brand, is which automakers noticed that shift and which ones didn't. Toyota built conservatively and kept its pricing power. Ford got knocked sideways by a fire it didn't see coming and is still digging out. GM saw an opening and in rushing to take it, may have overcorrected into an oversupply problem of its own. And Stellantis, the brand carrying the heaviest inventory of anyone on this entire list, running the deepest incentives, with dealer groups sitting on chassis cab trucks that have been on the lot since before some of you started planning this year's driveway upgrade, represents the sharpest version of that same miscalculation. It's worth noting Stellantis isn't even alone at the extreme end. Volkswagen dealers have been carrying supply nearly double the industry norm too, proof that this build back to old normal bet went wrong at more than one company, in more than one segment, at the same time. Building for a market that doesn't exist anymore isn't a supply problem, it's a forecasting problem. And forecasting problems get paid for by whoever's holding the inventory when reality catches up. Right now, that's the dealer down the street from you, not the automaker in Detroit or Auburn Hills. And that gap between what factories assumed you could afford and what you can actually afford is exactly the leverage sitting on lots right now, if you know which brand's lot to walk onto. That's the real story behind every flooded lot headline you're seeing this year. It's not that America stopped wanting trucks, it's that the industry built for a buyer who doesn't exist at the pace it wants. And the bill for that miscalculation is sitting on dealer lots right now, accruing interest by the day. And if you want to see exactly how bad that miscalculation gets, when you zoom in on one single brand, we've got the deep dive ready for you. We pulled the inventory numbers on America's #2 truck brand and found something that should worry anyone cross-shopping it right now. Watch. Nobody wants Ram trucks anymore. Dealers hit 115 days of unsold stock next, because the story you just heard about the whole industry gets a lot more specific and a lot more uncomfortable once you see what's actually sitting on Ram lots today.